Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the freaking internet. Yeah. We're back with another episode coming to you today. Sunday. Sunday. And of course, I've done a lot of recording. Now, don't ask me what I've done in said recording, but we'll find that out together, well, won't we? Yes, we will. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and let's get right into our very first time lapse of the evening. Let's go. So I have skipped ahead, and what we're going to be doing this episode is creating a cliff line here in which a lot of our, or most of our graveyard is going to exist on. I realized really early on, though, that we kind of messed up a little bit with this. And so we did have to remove a great deal of what we had already placed here in order to continue with what we were doing. Over the course of the next little bit, we're going to collect stone. We're going to collect materials for this. We're going to build out our cliff, and we're going to start to have this area take shape in a way that this wasn't cutting. And I think it will be a really refreshing. And here we go. See, we are chopping up some resources, lickety split. We venture in, we go a little bit caving. We got our wall start to be built. Just the basics, of course. The wall is built, and it's time to add a little bit of definition to it. Because definition makes the world go round. Over these clips, you start to see the walls and the mountain, well, not really a mountain, the hilltop start to take shape. We add in the layers, we start to make formations that don't really make sense to the naked eye. But over the course of a couple iterations, a couple more block placings, it starts to look really, really nice. And like it's actually supposed to be there, part of the terrain, as it will. And I think it really does help with the all-inclusiveness, just the range we've got going on here in this biome, this rolling hills biome that we are constructing from our own simple imagination. And I think it's going to look really good in the long term here. Then I quickly realized we needed to get rid of what we had done down here because with the new mountain, the terrain down here no longer makes any kind of sense, and so it needs to be taken out. It's that simple. And normally I would just cover up over all of this, but mud is a valuable commodity, so I will not just leave it to the wolves. Then I needed to put a nice layer of dirt there so that we could get things nice and packed and tight. And I feel if you need to do something, it is easier to just fill it in and then build over the top of it first. Now I've decided to try and do the other side of the hillside here, while also leaving room for more elevation changes all throughout here, because we really need a lot of them. To make this make sense, you need a significant amount of elevation changes. So we're just kind of jumping around to beat all of those. We're making it so everything is nice and packed full of the dirt, and the shapes are kind of unique, intricate, as well as a little bit interesting over the course of several different elevation levels, which will help us to differentiate the project from the rest of the project. I think it's really, really nice. Little tasks all over the place, getting rid of the beacon, getting rid of the leaves, and then deciding to add gravestones all over our newly formed terrain here so that we can actually have a graveyard connected to the church. I think that is the easiest way for me to do it. And I think it will add a lot just by changing things and making it nice and pretty. So I feel that with a graveyard, different elevation changes, and a pathway to run through it that is interwoven and connected, I feel it would be a really good addition here for our little area. So I'm trying to get the path to be the same as the rest of the areas, and I couldn't think of where to really have a graveyard, to be really honest with you. And I thought, well, what better place to have a small graveyard than by a church where it can be blessed by the minister in charge? I thought that was a really nice idea, and it's gonna work. I have done some testing on it. The pathway is obviously smaller than that of the other one, but I think it is large enough that it gets the point across. And as soon as we add some trees in here as well, the whole area will start to come together. In addition to that, we also need to put some grass on the top of our little hillside there, kind of overflowing, but also it just needs to be there for assurance, and it needs to look pretty good with each other. So each of the gravestones here have their own light source, and it might be a little bit lazy, I'm not going to lie, but I think it works just fine. Because, one, all the light is there, we don't really have to hide a whole lot of light, and two, maybe in this village, it makes sense. The pasture just doesn't want their graves to go to be tarnished at all, so I think it is beneficial, and they are just making it feel like a welcoming embrace, even though, of course, we are referring to demise over here. But I think it is a really good iteration of it, and it will work just fine. This has taken me so much longer than I can anticipate. So, right now, at this point in the episode, I know it doesn't seem like it because we've been only going for about 10 minutes. But up until this point, this has been about 3.5 hours of work. It is very slow going, either that or I am just horrifically bad at Minecraft, which is also a distinct possibility. You gotta just you get sidetracked. You do all these little things. You need materials. You run out of materials. You go get materials. Then you have to just build trees. And I don't know. Like I said, I am so scatterbrained. So all of this is not really like, although it is in chronological order here, it's so scatterbrained. And I am trying to work on that, believe me. I hope at some point that I can record enough, label the footage, and then maybe do like a short montage of cutting trees, a short montage of, whatever, and try to keep it all together, even though it's not in chronological order. So we're going to go into our next little time lapse here, just a short one, and then I think we will be back in a minute. Thanks. And we'll see you guys in just a moment. It's weird. It's very, very weird. We do, and we are going to spend a lot of time building trees, and I never really realized how many trees I would have to build until I started building this forest and the forest in my previous world, which had very different and easy to do trees. The trees in my other world took me roughly 3 to 4 minutes to do. Each one of these takes about 20 minutes, takes about 9 to 10 stacks of leaves, and about 4 stacks of fences, plus about a half a stack or so of logs. It's a lot. It is a freaking lot. And I didn't realize that until it was a little too late, I think. Now that we have pretty much thoroughly committed to this here forest, I'm afraid guys are just going to have to suffer through it because we have so freaking many of these trees to build. It is not even funny. And you'll see, we're going to build a lot of trees. A lot of them you're not going to notice. Some you will, some you won't. And that's all part of it. But here I figured I would do the border for our opening of the church. So I'm putting the entry for this church in a very weird position. But I wanted it to have kind of an ornate flooring of sorts that looked mildly good while also having a little bit of oomph, blocks that don't really use that often, all strewn in here. I think they look really, really nice. It's really, really nice. And it also makes this area feel a little bit more completed. Granted, we are branching out from one direction to the other, and so one area is going to look completed, and then by extension, everything else is going to look very not completed, very disheveled, very, what do you call it? Very just not complete. And I think because of that, we need to do each piece like this, and it will help us in the long run. By us being able to make all of these pieces, we can just do it. It's super easy, and it makes me feel like I'm actually accomplishing something, because each area that we actually complete is another extension to what we have already done. And that helps me to keep going, to keep progressing, and make things a lot easier than it could be. Still scatterbrain, still doing whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, basically. But little by little, we are in fact getting somewhere. And that's all that really matters. Trying some weird architectural techniques here, blocks that I don't normally use, and just trying to make shapes that I think will make sense, even if they really don't and we end up having to change it down the road. If we do, we do. It's not really an issue, and it's not going to slow us down even a little freaking bit, which is great news. I don't know. This has, no joke, at the time of this particular one now, I think including all the time that I cut out, which is like going in inventory and all of that jazz, I think all of that, it has been roughly about 6 or 7 hours already, which is kind of nuts for how little footage we decide to keep. It is really starting to be crazy. And we'll have to top myself little by little here, but hopefully that becomes easier with time. Because we're still new to the whole editing thing, new to the doing this weekly now. It's going to be an experience for all of us, for sure. But we will be able to get through that, and hopefully you guys will give me some tips and tricks along the way as to what you'd like to see more of, less of, etc., and how I can better serve the viewers here so that you're getting what you want, or a little bit of what you want, rather. So we're going to jump into our last time lapse of the episode. We'll go from there. And super fast build mode. Yes, indeed. We're over here putting up the walls to a house finally. We decided to move the villagers, and that is great news because I've been meaning to put up the framework for this house for a long freaking time and just did not do it at all until now. And of course, we went with one of the colors that we hadn't used yet. In this case, the light blue. I think it looks quite freaking nice, even though it is missing a roof, it is missing detail, and it's, not the end-all, be-all, but it is, in fact, at least the scaffolding of another house. Another home. It's great. We are trying to pack out this village with everything that I could need for this for the most part. And we are going to continue to need more houses in here. So I'm guesstimating probably about 10-ish more houses in this area in Seraphs Outpost here before I am pretty happy with that, and then we can just focus on the trees and do all of that stuff. But who knows? Maybe in the next one we'll focus more on getting a lot of the trees done. If we get all the trees done, maybe we can actually focus more on the houses and all of that stuff. But I just know in my heart of hearts that it will take me between 6 and 8 hours just to get the amount of logs and the amount of leaves, I think, to make all of these trees in the first place. So as much as I would love to do it, I still just simply do not have the time. I kind of really want to, though. It would be really cool if out of nowhere we got all the terraforming done so that we can just get all of our houses in, or get all the houses in first so we can plot out where all the trees need to be. And then I can kind of figure out exactly how many resources we are going to need so that we can make all these trees. Because I'd love to be able to get it in one fell swoop, but it's a lot. And like I said, each tree, 20 minutes. I've gotten better. I'm probably down to 16-ish minutes now, but they take a long time. Resources included, obviously, but take a long time to get these trees right. They have such a weird silhouette, and it makes it very weird for me and difficult to do it in a fashion that makes sense and that is relatively easy for me to do as well. It's just a lot. But I think that is going to do it for me for today, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys have enjoyed your weekly episode, and we will see you again next week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, ciao.